Hello there, and you are there, and I am here, and this is Killin time, and where do I even start today? I've got a couple of videos that were due to come out, which I put on hold just now. They're actually sitting waiting to be uploaded, but I needed to push this one in here because there was so much to kind of fit in after Sandra Lean's last live. That and what came after it, what came from it, is just, well, it's worth updating, I think, and it's worth discussing and highlighting as well. Also, in all of this, I've been looking at old podcasts as well, as I'm doing, just picking out little things here and there, and I didn't actually have anywhere to put this, so I'll just put it here, I think. I liked the mention that I got from Sandra Lean on one of our podcasts. Let's watch that one. Let's watch this.
A bit like that thing. I can't think who it was that did it.
It was me!
It was supposed to be a fair coverage of the story, and they took Luke to the station, and yeah, see, that sounds dead reasonable. They took Luke to the station. Why did they take Luke to the station and not the others?
Yeah.
But when it's reported in that, nothing to see here.
There's a lot of podcasts for this side of the fence, and what gets me as well is there is none that I have been able to find from the other.
I think there's one.
Is there one? Oh, I've not even been able to find that one, but
I'll
there
see
is
if I can find
one
it.
other.
I'll send you the link.
Aye, send me the link, please do. And that...
Looks like we made it.
I did enjoy that. I needed to show that one. That was Sandra on the podcast United Skates Limited, skating in Scotland. Now, the gentleman actually said that he was looking forward to getting sent the link. However, when I put the link up on his the podcast itself, he deleted it. So he couldn't be really interested in it, could he? Because he wasn't interested in hearing the other side of the story, because it wasn't as sexy as the one he'd just been told by his new pal Sandra Lean. So yeah, that would call out for you. You deleted that. You'd no interest in listening to anything but what you wanted to hear, like most, especially on these podcasts that are looking for the clicks and the views and all the rest of it gets shared on TikTok. At the end of the day, yeah, you're not interested in anything, so that was bullshit, but I did enjoy that. So, anyway, that's not actually why we are all here today. We're here to discuss Sandra Lean's falling out with some of her comrades. Now, Sandra Lean made a couple of claims on the Truth Exposed podcast with Bob Ruff, and unfortunately for Sandra, her followers, shall we say, decided to look into things for once about the legitimacy of what was being said, and found her to be telling some untruths. So we're going to have a little look at that in depth, because I want to actually discuss some of the things that's been going on with a certain blog that's came out about it. So for now then, let's what's the best way of doing this? Let's have a little look at some of the things that was said on the podcast. We'll read through some screenshots that I've got here of the claims that were made, and then we'll go into the actual blog itself. Now, we will quickly go through these because there's a lot of stuff to go through on this one, and a lot of reading as well as usual. So I'll just start off quickly here. The Luke Mitchell trial transcripts. That's a great start. In a recent podcast with Bob Ruff, that's Bob Ruff, is it? Yeah. Truth and Justice podcast. Some information was provided by a guest in relation to the availability of Luke Mitchell's trial transcripts. It was stated that the transcripts are not available, would cost too much money, only specified individuals could apply and obtain them, and only with a specific reason. This information contradicts the facts provided to myself directly by the Edinburgh High Court during a phone call. A friend also recently put in a request for the transcript via email. Below is the information that we received in relation to the statements made in the podcast. I will break down the information given in the podcast with a response in relation to the facts provided from the court. Now, what I would say is, before we get into this a little bit more, the writer of this blog, in my opinion, shows a little courage in pointing out that these mistruths have been, echoed or, put out there by Ms. Lean. However, during the actual transcripts here of the podcast in question, they refer to Ms. Lean as guest. Now, I believe that's because they don't want to try and rock the boat. But at the end of the day, I will not refer to Ms. Lean as guest when I'm reading this out, even though it may say it on the screen. This was Sandra Lean, and as such, I will refer to her by her name. I will not refer to her as guest, as I find that to be weak-minded. It's half courage here, guys. If you've got the courage to actually say that Sandra Lean has been lying to her followers, name her. Name her. So, said on the podcast, the availability of transcripts in Scotland and the cost, in brackets there. So, I found out just the other day the transcripts of criminal proceedings in Scotland order, which specifies the court will only allow the release of the transcripts if satisfied that the person requesting the transcripts is a person who falls within a specified class of person and intends to use it for a specified purpose only. It then goes on to list who are specified people and what are specified purposes, and where not specified people, and ours is not specified purposes. Note, the information quoted here in the podcast looks to be from the 1993 Act, which appears to have been superseded by the 1995 legislation that seems to permit application for a transcript from any member of the public on payment of the appropriate fee. How many years has that been since that wasn't the case? Regardless, moving on from that one. Said on the podcast, Sandra Lean. Even if we had money, we wouldn't get through those hoops to qualify to get them. Okay, but in terms of money, it costs about £110 per hour for transcription to get transcripts. Put a pin in that. They do go on to explain that that's not true, but even I knew that beforehand. For other reasons, looking at it to myself, to see the availability, I knew this all to be lies. But regardless, at least some people are starting to figure out some lies coming out from Sandra Lean here. So now, to get back into this then. Now there were over 200 hours of evidence in Luke's case. Transcripts take about 3 hours to transcribe per hour of evidence, so way over the £60,000 mark. And given how things are right now, I would much rather that money was spent on getting samples tested than going after transcripts that we can't get anyway. So I just thought I'd throw that one in to begin. Now, said on the podcast, obviously that, the prices, the availability of, who can get them. So what the court said, however, as a guideline, transcripts cost $91.23 per hour of court time, not the 110 that Sandra had said, or £1.52 a minute plus VAT. And this is for a 15 working day turnover. The trial ran from the 18th of the 11th 2004 to the 19th of the 1st 2005, with 20th of the 1st 2005 to 21st of the 1st 2005 being a day of deliberation and verdict, bar the last 2 days. I've worked out that it would be about 40 days of evidence, with about 5 hours of evidence per day. So a very rough estimate would be 21,000 £895, 20 plus 20% VAT. I'm not going to do the maths for that, I could do it quickly, but there's no point. At the end of the day, that's still, over half the price quoted by Sandra, so she couldn't really look into it, really, could she? Or was she just exaggerating it to make the situation sound harder to attain? I wonder. I don't wonder. Do you wonder? At this point, if you're wondering, then God help you. So, side note, I also specifically mentioned to the court that I'd been quoted above £60,000 on the podcast, and they were surprised by this and said no, that wasn't correct. Although there was a substantial amount of evidence, it would not cost that much. So said on the podcast by Bob Ruff. So my understanding, Luke's defence does not have the transcripts. Guest, Sandra Lean. No, we have probably about 80% of the transcripts. Bear that one in mind, please. I'll say it again, and I'll say it with emphasis so it sticks in your head. No, we have probably about 80% of the transcripts, but we are bound. We've got this purpose we use them for. If it's a case that the defence have 80% of the transcripts, why would they need to purchase the entire amount? Surely they would only need the remaining 20%. This would not cost £22,000 and certainly not £60,000. Either way, I'm not sure what that has to do with the fact that they're available for members of the public to obtain. That's a good point, but you've missed so many other points there. Bob Ruff, so regardless, of course, we couldn't get them even if we had the money to get them. Sandra Lean. No. So to give you an idea, specified person, specified class of person, the prosecutor, any person convicted, any other person named in or immediately affected by any order made by the court, or any person authorised to act on behalf of any person. So there's two of them we could use, but even if we do, we couldn't have specified purpose. What? No, I'm not going to get hung up on that. So what the court actually said, anyone can apply for the transcripts, but not a convicted person, unless under specific circumstances. So Sandra says that any person convicted can apply for them, and the court actually says anybody but a convicted person can apply for them. I hope this information is helpful. Well, it is and it isn't really at the end of the day, because what you've done is you've kind of helped me in a sense, that you are even showing that Sandra Lean can't tell the truth to her own followers. Now, one thing that gets me about all of this is that this is still clinging on to the idea that Sandra Lean has been telling the truth about everything else, which is baffling. If you yourself, this blog writer, if you yourself have shown that Sandra Lean is lying, why do you believe that she's told the truth about anything else? Anything else? When this is... The transcripts could show you guys anything that Sandra Lean says, and it could prove a lot of what Scott Forbes claims. However, they won't show you it, and it's not available. But you know it's available, so why did they lie to you? Why did they tell you that you couldn't read it yourself? Why? Sandra Lean does give some reasons for her stance on this, and indeed does walk this back quite a bit. So what I want to do is I want to show you some clips from Sandra. I want to start with one specific one, but I want to show you some clips with Sandra, and then I want to go on to one other point that was brought up in her live, which I think is something that we that's intrinsically linked to this, and intrinsically linked to a lot of the stuff that I've been saying recently. Carnies. Absolute carnies. So let's watch a couple of clips, but before we do, I want to read you a sentence back from one we've already read just now. So let's go back and have a look at the last screenshot from this one here. Said on the podcast, Bob Ruff. So my understanding, Luke's defence does not have the transcripts. Sandra Lean's reply, no, we probably have about 80% of the transcripts, but we are bound. We've got this purpose we use them for. We have probably about 80% of the transcripts.
And I was explaining to Bob that it's completely different over here. And if anybody else was to try and get hold of the transcripts, and just going through all of the issues that would involve. So that's where that conversation started. It was nothing to do with trying to get transcripts. I've got them all. Why would I need them?
She's got them all. Why would she need them, guys? Why would she need them? She's got them all. She's got them all. How many percent did she say she had? But now she's got them all. And in that clip, she continues to say that there's issues in getting information. When she knows it's untrue, she knows her followers have actually proven it's untrue, and she is still clinging on to this idea that no one's going to get the transcripts. I'm sorry to break it to you, Ms. Lean, but it seems like some people have got the transcripts and they've started to put them online. And wouldn't you know it, that proves that you lied about that, and it, within the very select clips that this blogger seems to be putting up, also shows that some of the information you gave about the court is false as well. So we'll get into that in the future. That's going to be fun. And let's obviously look at some other things that Ms. Lean said. In fact, actually, before we do that, let's discuss the blog here and now. So there is a blog up online showing some of the transcripts from the court proceedings. The initial one that was put up was around about the witnesses that gave evidence about the parka jacket being owned by Luke Mitchell. Now, the people that have put up the blog are still of the view that Luke Mitchell is innocent, like I said. However, they seem to have now left Sandra Lean's lies and go over to the more insane lies of Scott Forbes and his crazy idea about what happened. And we'll get into that in a future video, by the way. But the only problem is Scott Forbes' book is fact-checked by Ms. Lean. So by osmosis, you're still following the same stuff. The same lies that you guys fell for and have fallen for years, you're still continuing to, cling on to, because it's been a part of your life. Now, I speak to people who have been fooled by this shit. Now, there's nothing wrong with falling for people's lies. There isn't. These guys paint a very sexy picture, and when it comes to things like conspiracy or understanding, well, the way you guys might see it is understanding a truth that everyone else has missed. You can be wrong, guys, and it's okay to admit that someone took you for a ride. These guys have. And I have continued to show that their stories don't make sense. Now their own followers are showing that they're lying. What will you be, guys? Will you stay on this train and go over this bridge to absolute madness in the world of imagination?
Imagination, imagination.
Or will you accept the hand of reason that this side is willing to offer? Come to the sane side. Get off the train. Like the old saying says, shit or get off the pan. There is no shit. The only shit that's being spread is bullshit. And you guys fell for it. Now, I'm not want to be condescending with this or any way derogatory. I and others have fallen for people's lies in the past. Let's just admitting it, guys. It's easier to fall for another conspiracy than it is to be convinced that you've fallen for a conspiracy. We've said it before. I believe someone else has always said, now what is the same? Contempt for the con man, compassion for the conned. There is a certain element where the compassion vanishes, but you guys have still got time to open your eyes to the fact that Sandra Lean has been lying to her followers and been proven to be a liar by those same people. Not me, not another blog, not some other YouTuber, not Roberta Glass. No one like that. Her own followers proved that she was lying. What will it take you guys to get off that mad train? What will it take? And to the writer of the blog, the question is, why are you leaving out particular parts of evidence? It is, well, evident, should we say, terrible use of that word there, that you have still clung on to the idea that Luke Mitchell's innocent, and you still have that in your mind with what you're showing, because you're not showing it all. You've left out quite a lot of Shane Mitchell's testimony there. It's easy just by reading it to see that you have left out a fair bit in the middle there, a big chunk. So if you would like to show everything in context, like you claim in your little blurb that everything should be in context, then put it all up, please. Let me see the parts where, Shane admitted to a lot of others. Come on, put it all up there. Don't show select parts. You're just as bad as Sandra Lean. That is a lie. That is a mistruth. So put the rest up as well, please. You guys, you'd probably be able to find this stuff. I'm not entirely sure the legalities of it, but at the end of the day, it's there for you to read. And for me, it shows, like I say again, Sandra Lean is full of shit. And her own followers proved it. Not only by the fact that they got the transcripts, but what's been said in it and what was said in court does not match what was said by Mr. Forbes and Ms. Lean. There was one of the followers who apologised for falling for those lies. There's no need to apologise, and I say this to everybody. There's no need to apologise for falling for the lie. Just admit that it happened and move on. However, another reason we're here is to discuss Sandra Lean's live and something that she brought up as an idea for fundraising. Now, this is out there, so I can't really do this justice. I will play a clip of Sandra Lean sharing her idea.
So, fundraising. I have a little idea. Let's see how you feel about it. This December, I'm 60. The big 0 this December. So those of you who are still in your 30s, take note. I was 39 when I started this, and it's gone like that. So, yeah, just saying. But I thought, wouldn't it be fun if we had a big birthday bash this December? Not for me, I don't want anything, but as a fundraiser. And we could all get together and we can have, I don't know, we can have a race night, we can have raffles, we can do all sorts of things, but together we can all just get together and have a really good night.
Yeah, you heard that. You heard that. So we are fundraising for the case for Luke Mitchell's innocence by attending a 60th birthday party for Sandra Lean. Wow. So the fundraiser is a birthday party of the criminologist. Guys, where do I even start with this? I mean, for one, talk about poor taste. really? Is it that just me? I mean, this to me is a bit, well, it's just all shades of wrong, really. A birthday fundraiser. What took it a step further was I noticed that somebody, one of the followers, I'll put the tweet up, won a competition for a cake and was discussing what they should put on the cake for Ms. Lean. And a couple discussed, obviously, you know, putting maybe a picture of Luke on it as well. Guys, I really have to bite my tongue at the best of times when it comes to swearing. But with this one, I can't even start because I don't know where I'll stop. That is putting Luke Mitchell's face on a cake for a woman's 60th to raise money for an innocence appeal is insane. Does anybody else look at this and think this is normal? I mean, right. Aside for the really bad jokes about, you know, after they cut the cake, the knife will go missing. Aside from those bad jokes, the idea behind it is absolutely crazy, and it shows the level of vanity that Miss Lean has when it comes to her followers and what they'll do, and what they'll put up with. Because at the end of the day, this is the same stream where she's had to, you know, speak about these transcripts and still continue to lie. We saw the clip. She still continued to lie about the actual details of why and who was, you know, responsible, who could, in fact, get those news pieces, or those transcripts, sorry, in the first place. She continued to lie about that. And then she went on to talk about well, there was a bit in between. We'll get into that. She talked about fundraising at the end with this birthday party where everybody can just get together and have fun. It's a statement, and I think it will show Ms. Lean and her, you know, right-hand general, so to speak, who is still on side after the recent falling out over the transcripts and the lies said on Bob Ruff. And I will keep saying it, because lies. You guys proved it. It was you guys that proved it. It's lies. So, thank you for that, by the way. I can't thank you enough for that. So now we're going to forget about all that part of it. Everybody ignore that. Nothing to see here. Sandra was telling the truth. Don't worry about that. Now let's talk about fundraising and my birthday. I mean, come on. This is. I said cornies, but this is a new level. This is ultimate corny. This is like super corny. Fantastic that people are still going into it. There's a lot of people that are all over this. Yeah, let's have a birthday party for Sandra. She's done so much work. Whilst parts of your own group show that she's telling you lies. It's mental gymnastics involved here is absolutely ridiculous. But I say again, to those people that were lied to, that do see through those lies, investigate a wee bit more of what you've been told. Come over to our side. Get off that crazy train to the world of imagination.
Imagination.
You might be asking yourself, however, what did Ms. Lean have to say about the people who were behind the scenes claiming that she wasn't telling the truth about the transcripts? What was she saying about the call for them to get some leeway and get some help getting all the information from the courts? Well, again, there's no point in me quoting somebody else's words. Let's just hear what Miss Lean had to say about it. And now, what I would say is the mood shift, because I will leave it in. Let's leave in the shift from where she stops talking about the issues she has and on to something a bit more cheery and a bit more beneficial for Ms. Lean.
I have an issue actually with two things. The first thing is fundraising for something like that. Now, there is no point in fundraising for something that won't take the case any further forward. None. And Luke's supporters work hard for the money. And they have been incredible in helping get us as far forward as we are now, in helping to fund the background to the protest that's been going on. They have been fantastic with that. And I don't want to see their hard-earned money go to something that cannot take the case forward. So that's all I'm saying. It's a pointless exercise. Even if tomorrow I was able to, chuck every transcript, every piece of information I've got online, the transcripts themselves would not take us anywhere.
So broke these points up. I just want to quickly take a logic loophole here from Ms. Lean and Driver Truck straight through it, if you don't mind, and then we'll get on to the second bit. So what she has an issue with is fundraising to get transcripts that won't move the case forward. The Luke supporters have been brilliant in terms of the support that they've given, but she doesn't see why they would put money towards transcripts, because that would be a waste of money. Sandra, you said you've already got them. Why would you need to raise money to get them? You have all of them, Sandra. You could show them to people. You could let them see what you already have, like the blog owner is partly doing. So this is a great little lie wrapped up in a projection of I'm just looking to protect people, when reality is this can't happen to begin with. Why are you worried about people raising money and wasting money for transcripts if you already have them, Sandra? How does that make it make sense? Make it make sense. What this is, in reality, is Ms. Lean just looking like she's out to help everyone because they're so vulnerable and they're so helpful. But reality is they wanted the truth. The truth would come from the transcripts, which they're wondering if they can get, which you lied about the fact that they couldn't get because they weren't the right kind of people. Lied about the amount of money it would cost, and then lied about having 80% of them? Or are you lying about 100% of them? Do you have any transcripts at all, Ms. Lean? That's the biggest question. Where did your information come from? I don't believe it came from them. If you've got 100% of them, you wouldn't be making the mistakes that people are pointing out by putting them online now. So, on to the second part after that big lorry right through your logic loophole there. That answer was dribble.
I have a huge issue with individuals who will use vulnerable people, exploit them to do their own dirty work, whilst hiding behind either anonymous or fake profiles, and doing so to try to prove a point rather than to take the case forward. That to me is despicable. Utterly, absolutely despicable. And that's all I have to say on the matter. So, back to the fundraising.
There we go. So the other issue being, you might be forgiven for thinking that Ms. Lean was talking about people like me there, but the fake profiles or anonymous profiles. Ironically, I could name a couple of profiles that Ms. Lean uses online of alternative names, shall we say. The truth seeker herself. See you next. Thanks. As I say, she does the very same in terms of on Ministry of Justice Forum. She goes under a different name. Everybody knows it's her. But at the end of the day, that's only because they figured out through her writings who she was. I don't know about sock puppets on YouTube or anything like that. I don't really think she's got the desire to do anything like that. Her partner in crime, Scott Forbes, regularly does this, however. He has a lot of fake accounts, Ms. Lean, which I've proven on this channel and other people have proven online and through blogs, and Mr. Forbes proved himself by forgetting to log out of one of his profiles before defending himself in the third person. So, I mean, that's ironic. They taking advantage of vulnerable people as well. Again, I think that's something Ms. Lean and Mr. Forbes are guilty of with all this. They have made a pretty penny from books and everything else in terms of merchandise and any donations, PayPal donations, anything else, buy me a cup, whatever you want to say. They've made money from it. They've took advantage of vulnerable people, and their own side have called them out for lies. The reality is, this conversation here that Ms. Lean's having with herself is about the people that have brought this to light. She believes that they are taking advantage of vulnerable people by trying to get money for transcripts. Remember, the transcripts that she's got 80% or maybe 100% of. That one's up in the air. I still think 0%, judging by the fact she can't stick to a number. And the amount of lies that she's told about everything else around it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there's precedent there for bullshit. And I'll keep on saying it, but it's bullshit. So, did you notice as well the quick turnaround from I am very upset about people getting taken advantage of and vulnerable people and this and that and all the rest of it, and then suddenly back to fundraising and the smile comes in. Now, what I want to say about that, which I find is it's so see-through right now, is the ability to turn on a dime and seem like she's caring and welcoming, kind of a personable person, when reality is she's out for herself. She wasn't impressed by the people causing trouble within her little group, so she called them out to gather the troops, make sure she had everyone else on side, and then attack them namelessly. Now, at the end of the day, the blog writer also couldn't name Sandra by name. So why don't you guys just call each other out? Who's it that's causing you trouble, Ms. Lean? There's quite a lot of suspects in terms of, I could name many people and their Twitter or X handles, but at the end of the day, you don't want to go into too much detail about it, because you don't want the rest of your cult and the rest of your marks going out there and finding out what you've not been telling them. But reality is, anybody that listens to this, you know it's there. Go and find it. There is a blog. I'm not going to go through it all today, but it tells evidence or shows the evidence given within court and the verbatim back and forth. However, getting on to that again, I do want to reiterate that the person that has uploaded these transcripts must have went to an expense to actually get them. The question that I have is, when you have spent that money on, going to the trouble of getting those, why are you only putting select bits up? Why are you only putting this? Why are you leaving out chunks of Shane Mitchell's evidence and other evidence relating to the parka jacket? Coming up with, the parts that would be more agreeable with Scott Forbes' version of events is very telling, because it says to me that you're still clinging on to a lie. Now, I don't know for certain who wrote that blog, so I'll just keep referring to you as the writer. Writer, why are you going, as I say, why are you spending money to prove Sandra Lean wrong, but then still stick to a narrative? There are pieces within Shane Mitchell's evidence that could show you everything is a lie in terms of the alibi, but you're not showing that. Why are you not showing that? Because you still have this belief that you can cling on to, that Luke Mitchell is innocent, and even with it in front of your face and reading it with your own eyes, you will not admit it to yourself. Again, I put out the call to anyone who has been lied to, who now sees through Sandra Lean's lies and Scott Forbes' lies. Remember, his book was fact-checked by Sandra Lean, and I can't say that enough. They are in this together. They are not two separate people fighting for a cause. They are a team of carnies looking for marks. Do not be a mark. Get off the crazy train, guys. there is still time for you to stop falling for this nonsense and pay attention to what's being said. None of it makes sense, none of it matches up with reality, and when called out, these people dig their heels in, like Sandra Lean here did, and continue to lie about the availability of transcripts when she'd already been proven wrong by our own side. Now, again, I think Sandra Lean's mask is slipping in this video. The ability to be able to turn on a dime from being very upset to, oh, let's talk about my birthday. It just speaks volumes, guys. You need to start seeing through this if you're on this side. And I know people will be angry typing in the comments. I still go back and look at some of the comments telling me about how I know nothing, how I didn't research anything, how I need to look further into this, how I've came to this with an opinion. Guys, I'm now, this will be 16 updates into showing you why I think what I think. And at the end of the day, if you can't see it from that, keep the angry typing going. It's just you wasting your own time. I don't really care. You're lost. Don't be lost. Get off the crazy train. Last call, guys. Last call for the crazy train. Get off. Sandra Lean has lied to you. So let's summarise this all whilst we wrap up, guys, because it's quite a lot in one video. Sandra Lean lied to her followers about transcripts, lied to the listeners of Bob Ruff's podcast. Bob Ruff, I suppose, kind of stoked that lie by some of his question. I will go into that in the video that I'm talking about with that as well, but again, this video was long enough. That one is going to be close to 50 minutes in itself. So, as I say, she lied to everyone on that podcast. She then continued the lie on her live, which happened after she was called out, after our own followers got the transcripts, and they've put some of them online as well. As I say, some of our own followers have admitted that they fell for a lie, that some of the information that they were given was not what they were reading, but they're not willing to put up the rest. Why? Because it will prove that Luke Mitchell was found guilty for valid reason. I would like to see all of Shane Mitchell's testimony, writer of the blog. Come on, writer. Why are you hiding some of that stuff? This doesn't only call out Sandra Lean for her lies, but I'm calling out the writer of the blog for your half-truth. Don't show just little snippets of it. Put it all out. Show that Shane Mitchell did not back up Luke's alibi. Don't put in little snippets that you can then, but this might be this and this. The parka jacket, for example, trying to come up with a theory that it was a borrowed parka jacket. Let's just quash this one right here and right now. If it was a borrowed parka jacket, do you not think that that was then tested by the police? Do you not think that police have a valid, idea of who owned that jacket, who wore that jacket, and if Luke ever had it on his back? I think that's a bit of a clutching at straws there, guys. You yourself have shown that there were witnesses there. Some of them Luke's friends, Luke's teachers, that showed that they had testified that Luke owned that parka that went missing after the night Jodie Jones was murdered. You proved that yourself, guys. Come on, show the whole story, get off the crazy train, and come back to reality. What do you guys think? This has been a bit much in terms of content for one video, a couple of different points, but nail them in the ones down below. I will do a follow-up to this as well. I think there's been a lot of good points made by people on Twitter who are more of the, I hate to use fact finding doesn't seem to be a problem for them. They seem to understand words and how things are structured to suit an agenda. Peter Parkinson, who is in our comments every now and again, I've noticed a lot of the stuff that gentleman's been talking about on Twitter, and he makes a lot of valid points. So I do want to look at some of the points that have been made by other people online rather than just mine. So I want to do that in a video next, really. Just look at some of the points. We'll look at some of the things that have been raised with this and some of the more recent ones as well. Some great arguments in terms of dismissing that wording that you know, Miss Lean or Mr. Forbes might use. I'll get in. I mean, don't explain it all here. Bury the lead. We'll get into that in another video. As I say, it's more of a extended comment corner. I want to look at some of the stuff you've said, not only on the channel, guys, but online as well in relation to a lot of this. So that's upcoming. A wee bit easier to do because all I'm going to be doing is looking at someone else's opinion rather than having to discuss my own. So thank you very much for listening to this one, guys. What do you think? Tell me in the comments below. Firstly, Sandra's big birthday bash. Again, taking away the given joke that after they've cut the cake, the knife will go missing. What do you guys think? I don't know, that joke's in poor taste, guys, but at the end of the day, you've got to try and cling on to something here because this is insane, in my opinion. Having a birthday to raise funds for a convicted murderer with his face on a cake. You couldn't write that. You honestly couldn't. So what do you think of that aspect? What do you think of the fact that Sandra Lean can so easily go from a very upset mood to all happy and wanting your money? It's absolutely brilliant. One thing I would say as well, which I've not talked about in here, but I'll very quickly cover here, is in the live itself, Sandra Lean did say that there was something monumental that was going to take the case forward. She couldn't tell you anything about it, any information. She just needs some money. That was something at the very start, so we didn't get to find out what the great thing that was going to take it all forward. It was to do with samples, apparently. But she just needs money. The samples is another video I'll do anyway. But wrapping this all up, what do you guys think of the quick turn in mood there? Her general issues. Would you not say that Sandra Lean falls into some of them? For example, taking advantage of vulnerable people and taking their money, for example. Just one or two, sorry. Can't even count. And also, what do you think about the fact that Sandra Lean's own followers outed her as lying on a podcast? I've done it for months now. I've shown you that these guys do lie. So it is very, very pleasing for me to see someone else do it, especially when they were trusted by Sandra Lean in the first place. Again, to the writer of the blog, stop it. Stop trying to promote this agenda that Luke Mitchell is innocent and show the whole story, not just what you want people to see, because you're being just as bad as Sandra Lean when you do that. That's the reality. So take that on board, think about what you're doing, really read those transcripts you've got, figure out what other lies you've been told, and tell the rest of your friends. So guys, thank you again. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think of all this madness. Are you an ex-passenger on the crazy train? Have you gotten off in the past? At any point did you buy a ticket? Let me know, guys. I won't judge you. I want to know, legitimately want to know, why initially you thought it was true and what made you jump back off that train. And I am genuinely interested to speak to people who have come around to the insanity that is Luke's army. Honestly, if you're talking about armies and trains, this is more Stalin-esque. Just keep on going to Siberia. That's the way Sandra Lean would treat them. Regardless, sidetracked. Leave your comments down below. Leave me a sarcastic thumbs up. Do not be a Derek. Follow me on Facebook. Follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. And enjoy the rest of your day.